imaginable. It's fathomable. People talk more than me. It's
Hey,
possible.
I
It
mean a real
happens.
human, not AI people, like a real human.
It happens. I am not the talkingest guy in the world. I talk a lot, but I don't talk more than anyone. Maybe more than anyone you know, but not more than just anyone point blank.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. I've had reports where everybody's like, my uncle talks way more than I do. So, I know I'm not
They
anyway.
were being nice.
No, I don't think so. I don't that wasn't I don't I don't think they were being nice to either of us.
If you tied a
But
rock to your tongue, you'd beat yourself to death in a minute.
I mean,
They said.
possibly. What can I say, man? Got an active mind.
Are you trimming the
Um,
beard currently?
no, I have done
All right,
nothing to the beard.
nothing. You're just letting it go. How long are you going to let this go for?
Not much
Till next
longer.
Christmas? Next Christmas.
Yeah,
Do next Christmas.
I'll probably shave it off pretty soon.
Do like
Um,
Jack Black. Wait, do actually grow it to the length that he has his. I think that would
well,
be pretty cool.
you see this here, this chain here,
Mm-hmm.
it catches all these
Ooh,
hairs down here,
yeah,
and yeah, so I'm getting a little bit like I either have to lose the chain or lose the beard, and
gotcha.
I don't want to lose the chain. So I'm kind of at that point where I'm like, all right, might be time to when I get
Well,
home, maybe
maybe
I'll trim it off.
this. Oh, I've got it. I've got it. Do the walrus, but go into the beard, but just take the
Take the
this
chin off.
off, all the chin.
Nah, see, here's the thing. The truth is that somewhere over the years, whatever chin I used to have is gone. So I need the hair to provide a faux chin for me. So
Gotcha.
I shaved it all clean one time, and Carla said, "Don't do that anymore." Um, so I have
Very
to maintain.
stern. Very
Yeah, I have
stern.
to
Do not do that ever again.
yeah, I have to maintain. I have to maintain something on that, some chin covering, if I want to maintain a happy relationship. So, and I do want that. I might usually what I do, I started growing this for Halloween. So I grew it. I started growing. I grew in the mustache a couple weeks before Halloween, and then okay. So for Halloween, Ella had this great idea back in like February or March. She's
Hmm.
like, she has this Jurassic Park hoodie, and she said she wanted to get this Therizinosaurus mask.
Hmm.
And so she's like, and claws. She said, what I want to do, she says, I'm gonna wear the hoodie and I'll wear the mask and the claws. So it'll be like the mask and claws coming out of the hoodie. She's like, I'll be like a dinosaur teenager. And
Right.
originally her idea was one of us would dress as a dinosaur and the other would dress as a person. Or, and so she would be a dinosaur teenager. She'd be half
Uh-huh.
dinosaur, half human. But then somewhere along the line, she started getting really more and more into like Jurassic Park. And and by the time it was all said and done, she decided that Carla and I had to be Owen Grady and Claire, whatever her name is from the Jurassic World movies. So then so Ella tells me, you got to grow in a mustache. He has a mustache. So I was like, I start growing in the mustache. And then she's like, oh, actually, I was looking and he actually has like a whole beard, but it's just like, kind of a scruffy. So I was like, okay. So then I started growing in the rest of the beard kind of after the mustache, so that it would be shorter and scruffy and all that. And then after that, I was just like, well, it's in now. Let's just roll with it through the cold season. I'll go through no shave November and then here I am now and at the end of December. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, but I've never really grown the beard real long. I've grown it a little bit longer than this, but I've grown this part, down, to here, where I had
Right.
to put rubber bands on it like ZZ Top or Captain Lou Albano. Oh no, that was rubber bands in the face. Anyway,
Love it.
I love
so
that we
yeah.
mention wrestling now every week.
Well, I do what I can. Um, throw in a little here and there. Hello, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Welcome to USVN episode 17. I never can remember where we are. It's our Week 16 roundup, our Week 17 picks and preview, and a very Merry Christmas. This week it was in lots of good games to talk about, but
Hey, Mike.
none more important than the Ravens game. But we'll get to that last.
Boom Mike picked up every ounce of that gurgle slurp that you just did.
Mike is he is by far the most professional among us.
That's right.
Um,
I was just gulping down another 8 wins last week.
I just did you have 8? I thought you had 7.
Oh no, it's 8 because I rambled off the last couple big picks at the end, and I should have had 10. I turned another 2 winners into losers again. That's the second week in a row I've done that. So, but
I'm gonna have to go back and see what
what are you gonna see?
what you actually say during our little meet here, and because you make a lot of claims, but I'm not sure if it's accurate. I don't know if
What
you're telling the truth.
claims? What claims?
You make a lot of claims about, oh well, I would have had this many games, I would have had this many, but
Oh, you could go back and check because this is the first time I look at these games. Just to let everyone know, I don't look at games before we do this. On this call is the first time I'm making the picks, and then occasionally later in the week, 1 or 2 games I'll change. Occasionally, I usually don't, but the last couple weeks I have, and I've changed winners to losers. So
it's
I have to. I should just stick with my gut in the first pick, but what can you do?
Because see, the way I saw it was that G Money over there and I both had 9.
Yep.
And you did have 8. You did have 8.
I had 8. We all had good weeks.
By
weeks.
my math, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, is less than 9.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
I thought so, but I just wanted to make sure that I understood that correctly.
It definitely is.
Yeah,
we have some interesting lines this week. Let me tell you.
Yes.
I thought that was the case.
So what are we at? We have 2 weeks left. What are we at totals? With 2 weeks in the regular season?
5 or 6 points is all separating.
With 2 weeks to go, you're 4 points up.
Oh, it's still anyone's game.
And I think you're 6 points up on Garrick. So
Hold on, so you're in second, Ryan?
I'm in second. I'm in second.
Okay.
So.
4 points, huh? All right.
I really regretted it because I wanted to go Raiders this past week, but I went with
That's the one I changed. That's the one I changed.
Went with the Chiefs thinking, they're gonna have to have a get right game, and the Raiders, they have been playing great football. Anyway, but we can't get to that yet. We got to talk about the week that was before we can get to the week that will be.
And as per usual, there's a few games we don't need to talk about at all. So that's good.
Well, so let's just start with Thursday, Rams and Saints, and that is a game I think we have to talk about because I think the Rams are
they're my dark horse for the Super Bowl in the NFC. Actually,
I mean that there's some sense to that.
They're playing good football right now.
They're playing very good football. The defense still leaves a bit to be desired, I think, but they're playing good enough. Stafford is playing lights out. And I mean, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, I mean, that is a hell of a 1-2 tandem. And, I have to give credit where credit's due. I mean, Williams, who did not seem like a very special running back, has really emerged as a special running back.
Yep.
He seems to be the spoon that stirs the drink. Well, Stafford actually seems to be the spoon that stirs the drink, but Kieran Williams is really pretty special.
Not a single spoon.
Yeah, and Demarcus Robinson's really been playing well for him too.
And Demarcus Robinson has kind of come out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And my boy Alvin Kamara has crapped the bed again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the Saints are. The Saints continue to just be fortunate that they're in the worst division in football. Because I think we would be talking about their slow demise. but they continue to hang around because the competition is so weak in that division. But there is a team that seems to maybe be emerging as the favorite in that division, and it's not the Saints.
Hmm.
It does
No, the
seem
Saints
like
are like half the other teams in the league right now. Like one week they actually look unstoppable, and well, maybe not unstoppable, but like a decent team, and then the next week it's like,
Bucks.
who the heck is this team?
yeah.
The Bucks are playing lights out in that
Mhm.
division.
But the
Bucks
Bucks
playing
are
good.
playing lights out. And again, Baker Mayfield
Baker the cake
signed
maker.
signed a 1-year deal for $4 million, which in the grand scheme
It's a
of
lot of
things for
cakes,
quarterbacks is nothing. Well, that's nothing for a quarterback.
but it's a lot of cakes,
It's a lot of cakes. It's not a lot of money for a quarterback.
And he
And
which
doesn't
is
have
where
doesn't
which
have
is
any rent,
where
right?
they
Like, go ahead and tell him he doesn't
like
have any rent to worry about because he lives in the stadium.
correct.
uh,
Correct.
you know,
Well, I don't know if that was in this first year of this contract, but he's definitely got keys now.
well,
He's got
that's
keys
what
to the
I mean.
front door.
You think about him. I mean, again, I know we've talked about him before, but it's worth mentioning again. You know, he goes to Cleveland, and really, there are a million things wrong with that franchise, during his time there and just in general. But, he plays okay. He has an okay rookie season. He's okay, but he definitely does not look like a guy that can lead them to the promised land. And, and there's, I mean, for me personally, I know that I said a lot about with him was, look, this guy comes out, he's proven nothing, and he's already doing like national commercials all over the place. And I feel like that is just a recipe for screwing up a young quarterback or young player of any kind. You know, they can't focus the way that they need to when they're worried about you know getting the next signing deals with Progressive or whatever. It's
Mhm.
just not conducive to that environment. At least get a year under your belt. But at the same time, I mean, I do understand your agent comes to you and says, "Hey, you can do, Geico commercials for like $3 million." Like, how do you say no to that? Like, of
You
course,
don't.
Oh,
sure. Like,
of
there's
course.
no guarantee. There's no guarantee that you're going to be in the league for 3 more years. There's no guarantee that
And
you might as well. You got to
um,
take what you can take when you can take it.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so I mean,
In
I get that,
Cleveland too. You're playing in Cleveland.
and playing in Cleveland, but like,
Yep.
but then you remember Baker last year. I mean, Carolina and LA, where he was just never used. They barely used him at all, and he didn't look good when they did. He goes to Tampa Bay as a placeholder for them to bridge to the next quarterback because Tom Brady retired. I mean, and this
Mm-hmm.
guy's what, like 26 years old, 28 years old? I mean, I mean, I can't imagine they let him go. Not the way he's playing. I can't imagine. And Tampa Bay, look, if they can get their defense straightened out like they did this week, if they can get their defense playing like this, they are going to be a real threat in the NFC because they've got the weapons. I mean, between White, I mean, obviously White, Godwin, and Mike Evans. I mean, they've got the weapons. Cade Otton is a solid tight end. I mean, he's a guy that can pick you up a couple yards, no problem. A big target in the red zone. The O line is playing well. The defense though has been the question, and but they've certainly got talent and leadership on the defense to see it starting to come together at this time of the season. I don't know. Tampa Bay could be dangerous.
I like him for making the playoffs, but that's it. They're
Yeah.
not really, they don't have, like, they do have the weapons in the passing game and in the running game, but they're not up there with the Eagles, the Niners, the Cowboys, that upper echelon of the NFC. But they're good enough to be a playoff team.
Well, the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, though, as you well know, the best team is not always the team that wins.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So Tampa Bay seems to be getting hot at the right time. They believe they can win, and sometimes that can carry you a lot farther than you deserve. I mean, that's just the reality. You,
At
you
the
just have to get a little bit lucky.
beginning of the season, I was way more interested in what happened to Baker the cake maker's $12 million from his old man. Remember reading about that?
No.
So he files a loss. His old man has like a finance. He runs a financial advisory or something like that, and like 12 million bucks like disappeared of his money, and he didn't know what, and he had to file a lawsuit about it. about misappropriation of $12 million or something like that, which was
interesting.
But now I'm really rooting for the cake maker. I like it.
And,
I think they could get. I think they're exciting. They can get into the playoffs and upset somebody for sure.
I think that's the thing. They're an exciting story, so it's hard not to root for him. I mean, if he's not comeback player of the year, I mean, Flacco is the only one who's making a serious case, I think, for comeback player of the year, and I don't think he has enough games under his belt.
Is there a rule? Is there like you have to have a minimum on that?
Well, I mean, I think Baker. Say again.
It's just voted on, I think.
Yeah, I mean, what Flacco's done has been pretty incredible, but Baker,
No doubt.
if he can lead the Bucs to the playoffs, in a year where they really went into the season I mean, it seemed like this was a bridge season, like a season, you know what I mean, that this was a
Sure.
rebuilding year, a setup to a rebuilding, you know what I mean? Like, and so, yeah, I mean, I think if he can get him in the playoffs, you go, I don't know. I'm not sure who is a better candidate than him for comeback player of the year. I really don't know. Golf, maybe, I guess.
But Goff played last year. That's why I wouldn't include that. Like,
yeah,
I'm going through the list and just looking at like who was maybe injured that resurged. And like some more had an impact player return.
Coming off grandma's couch after being out for that long. I just can't think of if Joe Flacco keeps doing that and performing like that for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I just don't see how anyone could not vote for that
Just
guy.
to raise a counterpoint on how hot the Bucs are, let's look at who they've beaten too. Like, since they've gotten hot, it's been Carolina, Atlanta, Green Bay in that garbage game up in Lambeau, and a Jacksonville team that something is wrong with. That is the one quality win we could maybe point to on that in those last 4 games.
Sure. I mean, I think
even
there's
that is
something
a
wrong.
Question mark right now.
There's something wrong with the Green Bay defense right now, for sure. But I think Green Bay still is they're not a terrible
team. Their
team.
offense has been suspect all year. They're not either, though.
They're not a terrible team. Green Bay is a I wouldn't say it's a quality win, but it's certainly like the Green Bay is a team that can win any Sunday. They're an any given Sunday team. They're a 500 to just over 500 kind of team that feels like, they can surprise a team here. They could lose to a team they shouldn't.
Sure.
They're in the middle. And so I say to defeat, for the Bucs to beat Green Bay is, I wouldn't say it's a quality win, but it's not nothing. It's not beating the Panthers. It's not beating the Cardinals. It is a decent win, especially on the road in Lambeau in December. Especially when you're Tampa Bay, who historically plays terrible there.
Well, it should be a quality win, but this is where we've been on this all year. I don't think Jordan Love is that good. He's had a couple of games where he's had bright spots, but that team is, when you call them a 500 team, like, no, that's fair. I'll leave them right there. They're a 500 team. They're not a good team, though, to me. And that's why I just have a hard time calling that a quality win. It is a good thing for Tampa, just because Tampa is trending in the right direction. And really, they don't really have any tests left. New Orleans will be a test because it's a division game, but that's it. Carolina's not going to be a test.
No.
I want to know what you guys think is wrong with Jacksonville right now.
Well, yeah, that was I was going to say on the flip side of that game. I mean, Trevor Lawrence can't seem to keep the ball, with the guys in teal, for one thing. I mean, I can't. Yeah. I don't know what's going on there, but he cannot seem to. He has become a turnover machine.
Yeah.
Is it because he's pushing too hard? Kind of like, I mean, we saw this a little bit, when we talked about like what's wrong with Lamar in the last few years and what's wrong with Josh Allen to some extent, right? Is when these players try and do too much, right, on their own.
Yeah,
and without Christian Kirk, it doesn't feel like Ridley gets open enough. We've talked about that this year, and it just makes me feel like maybe he's trying to force things that normally he wouldn't be.
he's living up to unfair expectations because that team's overrated and has been from the beginning of the season. They were overrated.
I don't know how
and they
overrated
they're an
are.
8-7 team. They shouldn't be any better than that. They're 8-7 team.
I do think
I see play, they weren't competitive this weekend, and like I just don't see them consistently looking good. It's they're 8-7.
They haven't been good since Christian Kirk went down. I mean, that is a fact. I mean, that since Christian Kirk got hurt, they have not been good.
If one player goes down, you're not good, then you're not a good team, and you were definitely overrated for sure.
I kind of wonder if Doug Peterson plays a factor in this. We talked on this a little bit last week.
They have had some shit coaches.
Because he was in Philly, right? And he takes his team to the Super Bowl the next year, has a middling year, and they fire him. And it's like, is it because they had seen what they needed to see out of Peterson, and he's got kind of a cap?
Yeah.
They got a lot of talent at that team.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, they have one of the handful of candidates for Defensive Player of the Year on that team.
Right.
In the other Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And I don't know. They
great.
I'm gonna try this with one headphone on because this one I must have the most like messed up ear canal because that thing will not stay in my ear. But this one's fine. Anyway, does this sound okay?
Sounds wonderful.
Okay. So I don't know. I mean, there is definitely something wrong in Jacksonville. I think Christian Kirk really, really hurts because they have nobody taking the top off the defense. But there's something more than that. There's something in the coaching, in the discipline. I mean, we saw Evan Engram give the ball away, and and we've seen, and like I said, we've seen Lawrence has always given the ball away. I mean, that's always been his one kind of weak spot. So that's not terribly unusual, and he has the talent to overcome that, so it's fine. But I mean, they can't seem to run the ball well. They can't seem to, with Etienne, it's like I don't know. They're not breaking off chunk plays. They're not, and when they're not breaking off big runs, it's like if they're not, they don't have something to fall back on that's effective.
Is there really disappointing? Really banged up because they're not even trying to run the ball hardly.
I know. Well,
so that's what I'm wondering is he banged up or something like their O-line?
Maybe that's entirely possible. I mean, this week they got behind early and often. And so, but even then, it seems like maybe Peterson abandoned the run too soon. And there's ways to have a running game without a running game. We all know. I mean, Bill Walsh made it, like famously figured out how to have a running game without a running game.
And that's what Belichick's claim to fame is too.
Yeah, sure. So it's like I don't quite understand with again, one of the best running backs in football. You got two, I mean, again, once Kirk goes down, there's a big vacuum there. But what's his name? Zay, what's that guy's name there?
Zay Jones.
Zane Jones he's a solid receiver.
He didn't play this week though. He was hurt this week.
Yeah, well, I know. I just mean in general. Like he's a solid receiver. I mean, he's not Christian Kirk. He's not going to be able to do that. But they have, they're not like lacking in. They're not the Texans, who just fall off a cliff. In terms of talent behind their starting lineup there. Yeah, I don't know. Jacksonville. I mean, they're on the verge of missing the playoffs, which is astonishing.
If they weren't for the Texans and all their injuries, they might actually, not have the division right now either.
You're 100% correct. I mean, and the Colts are. I mean, I know they lost this week, but they're charging hard too. And the Colts are maybe one of the scarier teams in the playoffs because they feel like a team that seems like, that you cannot get a beat on them whatsoever. Yeah,
well, that's the game that I got really wrong this week.
Sure.
Was the Colts Falcons.
For sure, we all did.
I think we all did.
I see all I'm seeing are all the headlines about this guy's coming back, that guy's coming back. The Colts are going to be healthy, full strength ahead, and then they come out and they just crap the bed, man. It's
They forgot how to play football.
Yeah, it was bad. They didn't look good. And the Falcons, I mean, the Colts made Taylor Heineke look like a star.
Yeah.
And clearly he's still not the answer. But the Falcons have a good defense, and they showed up. They played very well. And honestly, as much as I think Art Smith needs to go for the Falcons to reach their potential, he came in with a great game plan this week, and there's just nothing you can't take that away.
Right.
I mean, they bottled up everything the Colts tried to do. They had a good game plan. They had a very good game plan. Heineke didn't have to do too much. They managed the game effectively. I mean, and that defense is great. I mean, it's a great defense that plays great when it's not put on its heels.
Yeah.
And the problem with the Falcons offense being so anemic has been that the Falcons defense ends up on the field too long, on their heels too long, and then ends up not looking like a great defense by the end of the game. But they are, very
Right.
stout. So they're a team that's game flow dependent, it seems.
Yep.
But I mean, this is well, we'll get to the Ravens, but like, it's one of the things that's been so impressive about the Ravens is the defense plays poorly, the offense figures out how to do it. When the defense plays great, the offense plays poorly, the defense seems to be able to step up in those games. And other than a few late collapses.
There was a thing from that game too. Like there's an interview with Bosa after the game that he was, and we can talk about that, I guess, when we get to the game. But I want to mention his comment when we get there. Yeah, the Colts they're just as Jekyll and Hyde as they're like like we talk about those teams like the Saints. On paper, they look like a better team, but in reality, they have the same record. Like they're the exact same team. Like and they're good one week and bad another. And it's just really interesting how many teams are like that this year.
It's interesting. The flip side of that game, the game that I swore I had right and crushed, was the Steelers and the Bengals, but I bet most people got that one wrong.
I bet everybody got that game wrong.
Except for this guy. So, Steelers are tough to pick. They're hard to pick against.
Honestly, I don't think the Steelers are tough to pick. I think it's Mike Tomlin. I think they, I was going into some of the look, like how the Steelers,
I agree with you.
Effectively the Steelers have handled the Bengals over the years, and it's like I didn't really think about that. And I don't know. There's that weird thing in the NFL where
they've owned them.
Yeah, but there's that weird thing in the NFL too, where like you fire a coach, you bring in an interim coach, you bench the quarterback, you bring in the backup quarterback, whatever, and you'll get that one week bump where everybody rallies around the new guy. You know what I mean? There is something legitimate about that, where like it does seem like teams will rally around a new guy, for a week. But then after that, it's not that they're not rallying, it's just that, that emotional high only gets you but so far. You can't sustain that over, multiple weeks. I don't know. We see that kind of thing, and there's no real way to explain it, but we see that thing kind of happen a lot of times. Now, I'm not saying that that's what happened with Mason Rudolph. I mean, the Steelers continue to really like that guy. I don't see it. Even in a big win, I still don't see it. I don't see this guy as a starter in the NFL. Like, I just don't. I don't know what they see.
Let's not tout his performance that much. He had 2 long passes that took like 2/3 to 70% of his yardage. So it's not like he was that great. Like he just had 2 really big bombs that paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with you. Most of these games, by the way, I feel like I should be scouting coaching staffs and not really. At the end of the day, I think it's all about how the coach and you see it at halftime too. They make adjustments, and all of a sudden the game completely shifts. So a lot of these games, I think it's going to be the matchup of the coaches. What I will say though, with the rallying around guys and that emotional little oomph that they get, I think that really exists. But I think what's going to happen, because what we tend to see is like a guy like Mason Rudolph, even though we've seen him before, he'll come in, they'll play a little different, right? Because they'll play around his strengths as an offense.
Sure.
And then the week following, the coordinator will key right back in on it and he'll get his ass whooped.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I have a feeling like Mason's going to get hit by 2x4 of reality this week.
I think
and let me
they
see.
play Seattle. Yes, I agree with you. Their defense
Seattle's
going to struggle to slow down Seattle, and he's not good enough to keep up with a team that's going to put points up.
And I think, I do think there's something too where, Tomlin has this pretty incredible streak of never having a team with a losing record for like ever, like his whole career. So I mean, I do think that there's something to that too, where they I think in seasons I think that sometimes in a season that's lost like this is, I mean, the Steelers could conceivably still make the playoffs, but they have to realistically understand they're not going anywhere in the playoffs. I mean, maybe they don't understand it, but I mean, what'd you say there?
Nothing. No, I agree.
Oh. So, in such a case, it seems like maybe, maybe you start looking at like, well, we get to keep get to keep Coach's streak alive. Fans are calling for him to be fired. I think it's the first time he's ever like had to deal with like the fans calling for him to be fired. So, maybe this is one of those, maybe this is one of those weeks where you go out there in a division game, Jamar Chase is out, you've got some things going your way, backup quarterback for the Bengals in there, who's sure played well, but you're getting more tape on him, you're getting a better look at him. And you've got a couple of rally points that set the tone for the Steelers. And playing well is one thing, but having to come back after you're down a few scores is a whole other thing.
And they could, I mean, I think without Chase, the Bengals are done. I don't care what their record says. Like, I think they're, even with him, like, that was a real ask out of that team to make the playoffs.
Sure.
I mean, but looking at Tomlin, I love Tomlin, but if you look at what he's done year over year for the last few years, like, it's been this team. It's the same problem. And so it's almost like, at some point, your history no longer matters, Belichick, Tomlin.
Yeah.
Like, there are coaches out there that have been around a long time, well established, had a lot of success, that are not cutting it recently.
Yeah.
I mean,
too much at the end of these franchises too to continue to kind of play mediocre football.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
I agree.
Yeah, I think. I mean, you look at the Steelers though, and they certainly. I mean, if Tomlin does come back, which seems most likely, but if he comes back, the main reason is because they haven't had a quarterback. They haven't had a real prospect quarterback for a little while. Even Pickett is not a pros. I mean, he was what, a third round pick, fourth round pick. They haven't taken. They haven't taken the guy to replace Ben Roethlisberger yet. They hoped it would be Rudolph,
and
picked in like the third round.
Towards the end either.
Huh?
Yeah, I mean, Ben wasn't very good either the last few years, probably 3 to 5 years.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And then they play Seattle coming up this week, right? Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So we'll see about how Randy,
a desperate
Rudolph, the
Seattle
Red-Nosed Reindeer, holds up against them.
Yeah.
They played Tennessee, and that's one that I lost this weekend, I believe. Seattle, Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, let's the Seattle, Tennessee, again, we've said before, Geno Smith, Mike, you've said that Geno was a one-hit wonder last year, but
I wrote him off.
I mean, he still seems to be like something's not right.
Good.
And there's way too much talent on that offense to be struggling the way they are, no question. But, it's hard. Geno, continues to have these moments where he's like, I mean, especially after last week with Drew Lock coming in and leading that come from behind win. There was a lot of pressure on Geno this week. And he was like sleepwalking through the first half of this game. But he managed to sort of figure it out, and certainly in the fourth quarter, but in third and fourth quarter, he finally figured it out and seemed to get into a groove and, led a pretty impressive comeback. I mean, and that was, his doing. So, I mean, give credit where credit's due. The Seahawks continue to look to me like a dangerous team if they can figure out their offensive woes, because their defense struggles when the offense struggles. But if they can score the points that they're capable of, they are dangerous.
That is profound, by the way.
Well, that's every team, right? That you say about everything. But what I mean is that they have the weapons. They have an incredibly difficult team to stop. I mean, between Metcalf and Lockett, and I mean and Smith and Jigba, they have incredible talent.
On paper, I agree with you. But
Charbonnet looks good. Walker looks good. They have so much talent.
But when you throw that dart against the wall, they're 8-7. Just like the Jazz, just like the Bucks, just like the Colts, just like all these teams that are that middle of the road that one week look unstoppable. And then the next week, it's like, I don't even recognize who this team is anymore.
Dude, there are some tough games this week.
For the Seahawks, though, they beat the Cowboys, showing that they can hang.
Sure.
And then the Titans. The Titans are a weird team. They're not a good team, but they are a fight you to the very last minute kind of team.
They're in that same conversation for me.
Yeah. But I keep looking at the Seahawks and going, this offense, if they can figure it out, and get in a groove at the right time, that's what worries me about that, or not worries me. That's what I see with them is that, it's the whole thing is it's not about who's the best team. It's about who's the best team playing at the end of December. Who is in the best place at the end of the season, who gets into the best groove, when it matters most. I mean, we've seen great teams or teams start a season great and stumble into the playoffs and, come in as a 1, 2, 3 seed, stumbling their way into the playoffs and then crash and burn, right away because they just, the momentum was all gone.
But having those New York Giants team come in a low wild card seed, like we've seen happen, has not happened in a decade. The teams that are winning now are always the top 1 or 2 seed in both sides.
Sure.
That's why getting home field advantage is so important, because I think adding that extra game has taken a lot out of these teams.
Agreed. Because it's one more get beat the hell up.
Right.
Speaking of good home field advantage, and you mentioned the Cowboys, that's a game I lost. I lost the shit out of that game. I was yelling at the television in that game.
So
that was an interesting game.
Yeah, the Dolphins finally get their win over a winning team.
Yep.
That was a weird game because the Dolphins did it without being explosive. The Cowboys lost. Well, the Cowboys lost exactly the same way no, that's not true. The Cowboys, every other game they've lost has been because they got punched in the mouth and they have no heart. So, you punch them in the mouth and they can't, they're front runners. And so this was an interesting one because that's not how they lost. They just got out muscled. They got
their defense. The Dolphin defense shut their offense, the Cowboys down for 3 quarters. Outside drive, right, where CeeDee Lamb got that touchdown, the very first one. They did nothing, and I'm like, what is going on? Because Miami's not shut anybody down like this all year.
No.
So, I wonder if it goes back to scheme, right? This comes back to they just knew. I mean, McDaniel outcoached McCarthy.
I mean, that's certainly part of it.
That's your boy.
And the Cowboys, I mean, I think you also see how much they are struggling without a running game.
Yeah.
They when they go against a team where a running game is what they need, I mean, you don't always need a running game, as we all know, but a team like the Dolphins, it seems like your running game is what you need to rely on. They've got great cornerbacks. You need to punch it up the middle. It's the same as if you're playing the Cowboys. You need a good running game because you've got to just punch their undersized D line, punch their undersized linebackers in the mouth over and over and over. And by the third and fourth quarter, those guys are exhausted because they're 30 pounds lighter than they ought to be, every one of them. And so, the Dolphins, it's the same thing. Like, you have to be able to run the ball and neutralize those top flight cornerbacks, or throw over the middle where you're not dealing with the corners on the outside. You have to do something in the middle of the field to neutralize the Dolphins, and then obviously slow down their offense. And I just don't. What are the Cowboys going to do that? I mean, their one over the middle weapon is what, Ferguson?
Ferguson, maybe Cooks, but neither of those
Maybe
guys
Cooks.
really.
Cooks isn't going to wear anybody out, though. Cook's not going to wear guys out of the middle. And
Not
Ferguson,
wear them out, but I mean, I'm just Tennessee played against each other, and that was how Tennessee came back on Miami, is those crossing patterns across the middle of the field. So that's more what I was thinking about with Cooks, is his ability to come across the field pretty quickly and not having the guy be able to keep up with him. Like, that's how you beat Miami, not going deep on them against Ramsey and is it Howard? It's on the other side. So it's like, like that's a nasty duo for a 1-2 punch on the corners, but their middle of the field is where they struggle.
Yeah, I mean, and if you scheme to run those guys out of the plays, then you've got the teams that have viable third and fourth options are the ones that can really exploit that. And I mean, and obviously, a more creative scheming to get those guys, caught up, screened out of plays and all that other stuff. But you're not going to Tyreek them. You're not going to Tyreek those corners.
No. Yep.
And I mean, and again, I think the Cowboys are just, immensely talented, but heartless. And I mean, heartless, I know is cruel. It's too much, but they just, I don't know, man. The way that they struggle on the road is pretty incredible. And really indicative, again, I'd say indicative of coaching.
It is wild how bad they are on the road, for sure.
I mean, it's they're as bad on the road as the Jags are at home.
I'm
the Jags, I think, are 3 and 5 at home or something.
They beat Carolina and the Chargers. That's the only two teams that got beat on the road this year.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, they lost to the Cardinals.
Not good.
Yeah, they lost to the Cardinals in week 3.
Yeah, and again, I think that it's frustrating to watch Tony Pollard, a guy who has incredible talent, be so poorly utilized in that offense. Why they don't give that man the ball in space, I just do not understand. They really just were it's really like McCarthy was just like, hey, no, this is my playbook. So we're just going to slot you in where Zeke used to go, and you're just going to do the same thing Zeke used to do. And it's like, but he's not that guy. And this is what I said all season.
Right.
This is where Mike McCarthy's coaching is a real problem, because I don't think that he's a very creative play caller. I don't think he's a guy that knows how to really get the most out of his talent. He is fortunate enough to, everywhere he goes, have talent to work with. And so they are able to do things on the fly that make him look better than he is. But I think, just watching how they've used Pollard all season it's baffling. It has not worked all year, and he has not once tried to change it up. And that just is it's inconceivable to me that you would just keep going back to the well, and hope that this time it'll be different.
Yep. And then they've got another tough, interesting match this week. The Lions come in.
Yeah, but the Lions are coming to Dallas.
That's what I was just gonna say. That's the big difference maker. And this week, the Lions ended my boys' season pretty much.
Well, and the Lions,
the Vikings.
I mean, we'll get to that, but I think the Lions, I mean, we'll see. But the Lions coming into Dallas, and the Lions are basically coming in literally with nothing to play for. They're not going to be a 1 seed. They already won their division. What are they? What do they have to play for?
They
in the
just
great
one game
scheme-
out
Huh?
right now. Aren't they just one game
They're
out of the
they're
conference?
they're
I thought they
tied
were
with
two.
San Francisco and
They're tied
the
with San
Eagles.
Francisco. Yeah.
Oh, that. Forgive me. I thought they were a game. I'm so sorry. I thought they were a
No, they
game
were in
back.
a three-way tie.
They're
They
Oh,
absolutely have
tie.
something to play
never
for.
mind. I take that back. For some reason I thought they were a game back, and you know what else? I was also thinking. I was listening to everything where they're talking about San Francisco. If they win, would be one game away from sealing it up. Sorry, that's what I was. I kind of had it in my head. Like I forgot the if they win part. I kind of had them like San Fran needs one more win, which they're going to get um, to lock it up. But yeah, no,
Yeah,
sorry,
they're
they
going to
lost.
get it this
Yeah.
week.
So
They'll probably get it this week. Like they don't. Do they lock up home field with one win?
No, they need two now.
I was going to say
Dallas,
because of the loss, they need two, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, because the
Dallas
Eagles are tied with.
beats.
Oh,
Yep. If Dallas beats the
Dallas,
Lions, then they'll be 11-5.
Dallas needs to win both, and Dallas also needs Detroit, Philly, and San Francisco to lose both.
Philly's not going to lose two. They might not even lose
because
like
I think
Arizona. It's the last two games. They're not going to lose.
Arizona and the Giants. Yeah, Philly's going to walk through. Yeah. Sorry, let me go back here. Philly is likely to walk through anyway, I should say. I mean, I'd be surprised. So, okay, I take that back. So it'll be interesting then. I was really thinking about that game, thinking the Lions had nothing to play for.
Well, and it's interesting because it's the two things that we've talked about. One being Jared Goff plays better in a dome,
yeah,
which it will be, and the Cowboys play better at home.
Yeah.
So it could be that we get a shootout.
Yeah, maybe. The Cowboys are reeling. They've dropped two in a row. So we'll see.
Yeah, they shot their wad against Philadelphia and haven't been able to get their mojo back.
They're going to be, and they're going to be feeling must win. So that'll be interesting. Yeah, you're right though. The Lions, knowing their limitations with Jared Goff, you're right. They are going to be playing their hearts out because home field for the Lions would mean everything.
Yeah.
I mean, they are very tough to beat in Detroit.
Well, they're going to be in. Yeah, they're going to have at least one home game, right?
Yeah, they'll have one home game. For sure.
The Vikings got bumped there, but I'll tell you, Justin Jefferson just continues to show that he is the best wide receiver in football. I mean, that pick at the end of the game, I think if Jefferson turns, 1 second earlier, he makes a move back to the ball, and that's not a pick. I mean, obviously this is a what if, but like that's one of those things where, I mean, he is. I think he turned around, the ball was already there, and he couldn't make a move on it. But that, like, the touchdown catch was incredible, and then that catch that he took on, it was like 3rd and 27 or whatever to get the first down, that long first down they got, unbelievable. I mean, he just willed that first down. It was impressive. He's so good. He's so good.
So
he's an impressive guy.
I'm gonna let you guys debate it then, because you're saying JJ is the best receiver.
I'm not.
He says Tyreek is.
I am. I do say Tyreek is for sure. I would take Tyreek.
Tyreek's the most dangerous.
Yes, and versatile.
JJ's the best. Tyreek is the most dangerous, but JJ catches everything.
Tyreek has like Spider-Man hands. He catches everything.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're both great. I mean, look, it's like,
No. I mean, Tyreek's. I guess the thing is this: Tyreek is great because he outruns everybody, and so he gets open.
In my mind's eye, I'm seeing him being used in way more plays around the offense than Jefferson.
Jefferson's route running, and I mean, like, again, that touchdown catch that he had was unbelievable.
No, you're right. It was.
Mullins threw that ball up, and Jefferson was like in the middle of the end zone and tracked it all the way to the corner and came down with it inbounds. I mean, I don't know who else makes that catch. I just don't know who else makes
No,
that catch.
I
And more
know he's
importantly,
amazing. He
and
is.
more importantly, he makes that catch. And when I watched it on replay, I was like, man, he didn't even make it look like it was an incredible catch. Like you had to sort of go back and see how far he had to go and how much he just tracked a ball in the air
Yeah.
that was not really thrown to him. One that was just thrown up and like, I hope somebody gets to it. And he just did. I mean, you know, mid route, like that was an amazing play. Sure, every time, you know, you see a lot of great players who will like will the amazing first down sometimes. You know, I always go back to the Ray Diddle Ray Rice up the middle, right? You know, that was a play where just like a dude just willed a first down that should never have happened. But you know, so yeah, you're gonna see those plays. That it's incredible, you know, great players make those plays occasionally. But that touchdown was just like, I don't know that Tyreek could have tracked that ball because I don't know that he would have seen it in time. I don't know that any other receiver would have seen it in time. I mean, that was the thing. I just don't know anybody else that like had the same degree, would have the same degree of awareness to like to be tracking it like he was. That was incredible. It was an incredible play.
On from Jefferson, please. Anyone else
With
you'd
the
like to talk
Vikings,
about in
but
that
the
game?
Vikings still have more than 3 losses. So that's all I'm going to say.
Yes, that point was made weeks ago. That point was made weeks ago. All right.
5 to be exact.
So
they're over. I admitted defeat on that one.
Yeah.
When you go
Bears
out on
beat
a
the
limb,
Cardinals. They do what
sometimes
they're
it
supposed to
breaks.
do. So the Bears do what they're supposed to do. They beat the Cardinals. Great.
Yep,
Broncos, Patriots, those two teams. I mean, the Broncos are exactly what I think they are. A team that you should put no faith in.
But the Patriots, though, are a new team, my friend. And this is the question, is why wasn't Zappy put in a while ago, longer ago? And that's Belichick's, one of his boys. That's a big, I think it was a big miscalculation on Belichick's, and not to make that change earlier, unless he's right, you know, unless he just is in love with what's his face.
Mac Jones.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Mac Jones is a first round pick, so you got to give him every opportunity. But Bailey Zappi's outplayed Mac Jones last year when he came in for him. Like, this isn't, I'm with you, Mike, like why they didn't do it sooner, unless there's pressure from up top inside the organization, you know, in addition to, I don't really know. Their defense has not been the problem.
was really coming down on Belichick to start.
I'm talking ownership. I'm talking ownership involved.
I know.
Kraft, I don't think Kraft really is that big of a. He doesn't strike me as a guy who meddles.
He seems pretty hands off.
Yeah,
he's very relaxed.
Yeah. He is after he leaves the massage parlor anyway.
I love that guy.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you know, the Patriots, yeah, they've rattled off a couple of nice wins. You know, I don't know what that means.
They're spoilers. That means they're spoilers this year. They're the quote unquote year-end spoilers who go on that streak. They can't make the playoffs, but they start beating other teams. And this week, guess who they got?
They've only won one, right?
Well,
they won 2 of the last 3. I think is what they've won 2 of 3, haven't they?
I don't know actually.
Didn't they lose to Pittsburgh? Or am I mixing that one up?
They're 4-11, so
you're right. I think they beat Pittsburgh and then they lost to KC and then beat Denver. But they were in the game against KC.
Yeah, there was a tight game with KC.
Yeah, that was closer. That's what it is.
All right.
Sorry, I got my.
But yeah, I don't need to talk about that game. That game was garbage. I just happy to watch that game.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't want to talk about it. I just want to mention that like it happened as expected. The Broncos, I mean, that, you know, is maybe a little surprise. I don't know. But I don't think any of us were impressed with the Broncos. And with no Cortland Sutton, they're even less impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And then one just to briefly mention, the reason Ron Rivera needs to not be coaching a team is because he once again went to
trying to win. Because they kept trying to win.
Yeah. But he went to Sam Howell, who was again terrible. I feel bad. This guy looked pretty good in the beginning of the season, but he just fell apart. But Jacoby Brissett who looked good last week, certainly earned the right to start this week and didn't, and then comes in and is able to, in a matter of a short amount of time. Again, yes, I know the Jets are playing a softer coverage. Yes, I know, defensive scheming, all that stuff changes. But still, Brissett's still the guy making the throws. He's still the guy making the reads, and still brought them within within an eyelash of an incredible comeback.
I think you got to give more time to Howell though. Like, and what I mean by that is, like, he statistically has been one of the better quarterbacks on the season. Statistically, yes, the last few weeks he's been you're seeing him kind of come back down to earth and be the more in line with the guy that I think we all thought he was. And that's fine, but I think you got to be careful what message you send to your team too, right? Because if a guy comes in and he has one bad half and you replace him with Brissett, who has a good half, and then you immediately swap him, you've now just told everybody on that team that if you have a half a game that you played poorly, you may lose your job. And I think you have to be careful there, which is why you go into the second game, and after this game, him struggling again, now you're more justified to come in and go, no, we're going to move forward with Brissett for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think though, I mean, I hear you, but I think you also,
you got to find out what you have too, because they're not going anywhere this year.
But I think when you look at Howell, he looks like a guy who's run out of gas. You know what I mean? Like because you can look at his body of work in the first half of the season and go, okay, this is something to build on. He looks like he's run out of gas. So okay, he has a few bad starts, and then Brissett comes in and gives you a chance to win. I think they win last week, right? You go, okay.
No, they lost.
They brought him. Same thing. Brought him back to
the Jets won by 2. Yeah. Oh, you mean the week before?
Last week.
The Rams won the week before.
Yeah. But they came all the way back and had a shot. Yeah.
Washington's lost 6 in a row. They haven't won in a while.
So you go, okay. So I just remember being close. It was close. I knew they were coming back. So you go, okay. Look, Sam, take a seat. Let's rest up. Let's get ready for next year. And because he seems gassed. I mean, that's really what my takeaway is. And when you have these young quarterbacks, when you have young players, I said before, it's not uncommon to have that week 13 swoon when you get past the college season. You get past the 12 games they're used to playing, they start to hit that wall, and you go, okay, so Sam's hit a wall. Let's go ahead. I don't say you do it just immediately arbitrarily, but you got a couple games left. Maybe now's the time to put them in the packing peanuts and ship them off. Do not open until June.
I agree. I mean? What do you get from? Like, what does your team get from that though? A couple more wins, maybe. Like, you learn nothing about your youth. You learn nothing about these other players. You're putting a guy in who we all know can be a viable starter when your lead guy goes down. Like, that's who Brissett is. He's an upper echelon backup. He's not a full-time starter. Like, I just don't like, that's the only part of that. And I'm just taking the opposite side of it just to kind of argue the other side of the point a little, is that you don't learn anything. And I agree with you that Howell does not look good, but do they not have another guy there? Like, or is that it? That maybe they want to get a look at going into next season. Is this guy any good or not?
Maybe Brissett gives you a chance to evaluate your other offensive weapons.
That's fair.
Because he can manage
That's
that.
Fair.
And so if Brian Robinson or Antonio Gibson are the guys you want to move forward with.
No, that's a valid point. I'll give you that one.
That's fair. So you say, okay, we've seen enough from Howell to think that he certainly deserves a shot to compete for the starting job next season.
Yes.
Depending on what the draft looks like, how things fall.
I think he's shown enough, like, he can be your guy. But
I agree.
You have to protect him, and he's shell shocked from the season. Like, he was getting murdered the first 3 quarters of the season.
Well, and that's the other thing. You also prevent him from having a catastrophic injury this late in the season.
That is, now we're talking a really thing that you gain as a team. Mm-hmm. If you think he's, and I do agree with you on your other point, assessing the rest of the talent.
I mean, anyway, just my thoughts. I mean, you have an opportunity to see, to work other things out.
Yep.
And I mean, and it sounds cold and callous, but you go, well, if our backup quarterback gets killed back there, that's fine. That's the risk we're willing to take.
For sure.
It's again, it's sad. It's messed up, but like, that's what you do. You could rotate in some offensive linemen, see what they look like, rotate in some tight ends, see if you've got somebody on the team that can replace Logan Thomas that you're not aware of, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, but from the fan perspective, which of course they don't really care about, and I get that. But from the fan perspective, Brissett gives you a chance to maybe end the season on a high note. And I'm not sure that at this point in the season, Howell does.
I don't think they want it. They shouldn't want a high note.
Yeah, I know that. I know that too.
They should want to lose every game that remains.
I know that too. But you're not supposed to look like you want to lose.
Yeah.
Then leave Howell in because he's clearly playing the way he's playing. Like, yeah, no, I get it.
Let the other team get a big enough lead that then you can put Brissett in and make it interesting and create a little. But see, I do think that's you actually run the risk of really damaging Howell by letting him start and then pulling him game after game. You run the risk of shattering his psyche, where if you just bench him, if you bench him and say, look, we want to protect you. You've had a great season, but we're going to go with Brissett for the rest of the season because don't want to run the risk of you getting hurt. Things are just not working out right now. Don't, you know what I mean? Like there's a way that you can do that. I think that is less psychically damaging than like letting him go out there and just put the team in a 30-0 hole and then get pulled and watch the other guy put up 28 points.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that just seems to me like that's more damaging than saying like, look, you're just going to ride the bench for a little bit.
And we've spent way too much time on the Commanders.
I know. I didn't even want to talk. I didn't even want to talk about it. I just wanted to mention it.
I know.
Yeah. All right. So I do. I want to talk. Just mention the Browns only to say Flacco continues to really impress. I mean, he's the luckiest thing in the world going to that team. And the Browns, I'm starting to be a little bit scared of the Browns at this point.
Should be.
Their defense has been good all year. So yeah. Like the only thing missing has been the offense.
Mm-hmm. And
it didn't tell me that much either. The Texans are really, really banged up right now.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, good for him. And yes, they're going to make the playoffs, and they are going to be a really tough out for whoever has to go up against them. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, so let's see. Bills Chargers. We'll move on to that because there's nothing else to really say about the Browns. But Bills Chargers. I mean,
same
the Bills
kind of thing for me. Chargers played inspired ball under their new coach. Like,
yeah,
that's really what that game is more about to me than even what the Bills did or didn't do. The Chargers played the best ball we've seen them play all year.
Yeah, yeah, they're out from under the yoke of a terrible coach. Good for them. Packers squeaked one out. Bryce Young puts up his best game as a pro. Which just tells me the Packers defense is absolutely a mess right now.
You love it so much.
Well,
we spend all that talking about Bryce Young. Yeah, we're good.
He had a great day.
Yeah, but last week, Baker Mayfield, comes out and looks like Dan Marino against the Packers.
Yep.
This week, Bryce Young comes out and looks like, I don't know, Kenny Stabler maybe. Certainly not Marino, but comes out and looks like Jeff Garcia against the Packers. And so, you have a degree of competence that the Packers defense is just struggling. And I don't
does he have freckles too?
I just don't I don't, again, what I think about Bryce Young, and fine. But the Packers are in trouble because their defense has collapsed.
They're both bad football teams.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really willing to disagree with you at this point. All right, let's talk about let's just wrap up the last game that we don't need to talk about. The Eagles did what they're supposed to do. Tommy DeVito.
Yeah,
I won that game. Did you guys win that game?
I won that game.
Good.
Oh, no, I didn't. I didn't win that game.
They were getting 12
Tommy
points.
Cutlets. It's a good thing Tommy Cutlets didn't buy his own apartment.
You think he's a flash in the pan, huh?
Did he get benched or did he
get
get
benched?
Okay, I didn't know if he got benched or
I just saw
and,
Tyrod come in.
Well, and I was going to say I didn't even realize they had Tyrod Taylor, which I'm surprised that they're
hurt.
going.
He got hurt, and then Tommy DeVito came in, and that's when they started winning. So they just kind of stuck with the hot hand.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
I think I maybe did know that, and I forgot because I'm like, Tyrod is a competent quarterback, and I was like surprised that they've run with DeVito with Tyrod on the bench because
DeVito looked.
He's
better.
A legitimate starter.
DeVito looked better than Tyrod did earlier in the way Tyrod. Now I didn't really watch that game very closely. That was the one game I'm like, I don't care about this game.
Yeah.
Like it was never really close, even though the score is only like one possession game. It was never that close. And I had it on a side screen, but I wasn't. But no, in the middle of the season when Tyrod first took over for Danny Dimes, he was really not moving the ball at all. Okay. And then all of a sudden they put in DeVito, and it's like he just didn't turn the ball over. He wasn't doing okay. Kind of like that kid that subbed in for Fields a little bit, like had that one or two games of, hey, look, he kind of surprised everybody, but that was about it.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's been a fun story. The most Italian player in football with the most Italian Italian agent.
I hope he grows from this and actually becomes a viable player for. Hey, it'd be great for him to go to the Jets. Not really, but just staying in New York, like it is such a great,
it's a great story.
The NFL wants. They want.
I love it. Yeah,
this Italian kid, doing
local
great.
Kid story. Does good. Yeah. No, it's a good story. And look, I mean, I'm with you. I wish nothing but the best for this kid. He seems very likable. Seems like a nice kid, and honestly, he's played okay. He certainly played well enough to be on a team next year. I don't know that he's played well enough to be a starter, but he certainly played well enough to be on a team. And not a lot of guys that far down the depth chart get this much game time. So yeah, I'm with you. Like this is a real opportunity for growth for him.
Yeah.
And who knows? I mean, who knows what he can do with it? Hopefully he does something.
He's a true development player too. He's not a kid that you drafted high and expected big things out of.
He was undrafted, wasn't he? Undrafted free agent?
I don't remember if he was undrafted or not. He might have been.
He's an undrafted free agent, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Anyway, great story. All right, let's talk about the most interesting games of the week. Maybe the Cowboys Dolphins, but that was a weird game.
I thought we already talked
the two most interesting games of the week. I thought Raiders Chiefs, and obviously the big one.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Raiders. Yeah, I mean to go into Kansas City. Look, I think we'll see. Mark Davis is a weird guy. I mean, he can't pick a good haircut. But what was it? Was it 2 years ago when the interim coach came in and took him to the playoffs?
Yeah, and then he cuts him.
And then he hired McDaniels.
Yep.
So there's no telling what Mark Davis is going to do.
Right.
But Antonio Pierce, the team loves playing for him. That's for sure. He really feels, Pierce feels like a Raider. I mean, he feels like what the Raiders, again, when you talk about team identities, these things are always a little bit like, I don't know, I'm always a little bit like, well, I'm not sure how much stock to put in those things. Playing like a Raven, what does that mean? But, especially if you have coach turnovers and all this stuff, I don't know what all that means. But Pierce feels like a Raiders head coach. He feels like a guy that ought to be the Raiders head coach. And hey, they got shut out and then come out and put up 63, and they come out and they beat the Chiefs in Kansas City.
Yep.
Impressively.
Without Josh Jacobs.
O'Connell did not complete a pass after the first quarter?
Farva? Yeah. I'm going to call him Farva from now on because that's who he looks like so much.
Did not complete a pass after the first quarter.
Jeez.
And they won that game.
The defense played great. And I do think that we are finally seeing the impact of not having any receivers. Because Mahomes he's making bad decisions. He's forcing balls that like those two one was just a dumb play call. But that interception that was a pick six, like that was just a bad throw. He was trying to force a ball that he had no business forcing. The play call where it was going to be this little shovel pass to Mahomes, where that they fumbled. I'm like, what was that play call? Like
that was
made no sense.
Look, I can't stand when a team does that cutesy bullshit in week 16. You do that in week 1, 2, 3, 4. When you've got a whole season to figure things out, you do that cutesy little play. So if you have a little trick in your back pocket in the playoffs.
I was going to say, or keep it till the playoffs. That way it's a true surprise in the right moment, right? Not in the first or second quarter.
Well,
it's usually
you like to run it. You like to run it once so you know that it works. You know what I mean? You like to run it early when it doesn't matter. One of these early games when you're up 35-13, you run it to see what happens. That kind of thing. You don't do it when you're coming from behind in a game that is much closer than you anticipated.
Yeah, it did work.
But ever since Mahomes' little blow up, have they won?
Oh, I love it. No, but that wasn't the blow up after they beat
Bills.
New England last week.
Okay. Oh yeah, but barely.
Yeah, they did play great against New England.
Yeah, barely. And
they're a team spiraling. I feel like they're like
I agree. They are struggling.
They're going down in flames.
And honestly, I think that whole thing, you have this moment where Mahomes whines. Again, forget about the
officiating help. You mean? Is that where you're headed?
What is
he saying? They're losing some of the officiating help that they've been getting all along.
No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to go. I mean, I know that's true. There's no question that stuff is true, but I don't think it's just that. I think it's also, Mahomes is a petulant little child at the end of that game. Yep. And instead of doing the thing that every kid who's ever played any kind of organized sports from the time they're 5 onward learns that you're supposed to do at the end of a game, which is walk up to the opponent and go, good game, good game, good game. And he doesn't do that. He walks up to Josh Allen and says, worst call I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. What a fucking
And you go,
douche.
Okay, look, I don't begrudge a guy having a moment or whatever. And you're caught on a hot mic. You should know better. But like, that's the wrong time to do it. You hold that in until you go do it at the presser. Do it at the presser. That's fine.
Yep.
But it's that. And then he goes back and he sees, and he's been told that it was offsides, and he still goes out and doubles down on it at the podium. And then the next day doubles down on it again at the podium. Yeah. And that's the thing. That tells me he could not let it go and that got in his head. And instead of just saying, yeah, well, I looked at it, and I mean, there's a way that you can save face on that and go, yeah, I looked at it, and I still, you don't see that call very much or whatever. And I guess, Kadarius, I guess I thought he checked with the ref and, blah, blah, blah. There's ways to do that without throwing your teammate under the bus and saying, it's an unfortunate thing, but we're moving on. We're talking about next week. But he didn't do that. He dwelled on it for 48 hours. And even after it was
doubled down on it multiple times. That's the bigger issue.
And then he got absolutely destroyed in the press for probably the first time in his career.
Yep.
And I just don't think I think that he has not handled. I think that's really had an impact on them.
That's a player who's got everything go his way his whole career.
Oh yeah.
Professionally. Like all the announcers suck his dick every freaking Sunday. Romo's all over his ball sack.
Oh, he's terrible.
Constantly.
Not as bad as Collinsworth.
Oh yeah, he's the worst.
I could not believe. I'm like sitting there this week when that game came on and he made that statement, and I'm like, there it is. Finally got the thing I've been looking for. Yeah, I just couldn't believe it. It's like, that's a huge play because after that sack they went backwards. I'm like, and where's the analysis that follows that explains why you just made the Captain Obvious statement of the week?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's Collinsworth and Aikman don't prepare for games anymore. They can't be bothered. Yeah, it's but yeah, I mean,
I'm
I
on the
think all
for
the
the
credit to the
Broncos.
huh?
I said put them on the same broadcast and let them cover the Broncos and Patriots. Like, because
Yeah.
I don't want to watch that game and I don't have to look into them.
They would just spend the whole time talking about how great Sean Payton and Bill Belichick are.
You're
Yeah.
probably right.
These coaches are so great. Such a shame.
So a little bit of a down season this season, but boy, Belichick certainly like the greatest, probably the greatest of all time. One of them certainly. That would be the whole game.
Probably right.
And then occasionally you'd get a first down.
And then let's look back over his illustrious career while we have a break.
Yeah.
And constantly revisiting Super Bowls and bullshit.
It would be a nightmare.
I was going to say not to look past Vegas, but there's a chance they make the playoffs.
There's a chance they win the West.
The Raiders.
The Raiders can win the West still, I think.
One of the teams in contention, they play the last game of the season being Denver at home. Yeah. But this week they have the Colts, who is sitting right in front of them and in the last playoff spot, I think, right now. So, like, they're right in the thick of all that. I mean, it all obviously depends how things play out, but I don't think they're going to take the West because, I mean, Kansas City, Cincinnati, and the Chargers, their last 2 weeks. I mean, Cincinnati without Chase, without Burrow, they're just not the same team. And the Chargers, great. They played inspired ball this week. They're not going to keep that up every week.
No, agreed. I'm just saying there's a chance.
There's definitely a chance.
But yeah, the Raiders in the playoffs would be if the Raiders make the playoffs and Davis fires Antonio Pierce and goes with somebody else again, you have to start wondering about his mental health because you already question it because of the haircut, and then you make that decision twice. You really have to wonder what he's doing. Whether the Raiders can ever be competitive again, because he's not going to let them.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's go to the game
Final
of the
week.
game. And really, what did it say? It was the latest in the season that the top two, the two top record holders or record havers in the league faced each other since 90 or no. Either 2001 or 93. I can't remember. I heard a lot of things thrown out there. It's been a long time since it's happened.
No idea.
And Ravens on the road, and we talked about last week, Ravens on the road, Christmas, Monday night, last game of the week. All the advantages fall to San Francisco in that scenario.
Yep.
That's why I picked the Ravens.
Man. I mean, just unbelievable. First off, the craziest safety I've ever seen in my life.
I was pissed about that. I'm like, if we lose by 2 points or less, I have no problem with the intentional grounding other than the fact that they gave it to him in the end zone because the ref because Lamar probably gets away.
Right.
And I do think he probably, meaning he doesn't get anything out of it. No, that doesn't turn into points. It's just him throwing the ball away and we walk away punting. Right. So they were basically given 2 points right out of the gate.
Right. Yeah, no, you could see Lamar. You could see Lamar had a window to get around, even to get around the corner. Right. Which suggests that he certainly would have had the window to get enough space to make the throw away. But yeah, to trip over the ref, you go, unbelievable. Well, first off, before we get into this game, I just want to say, how does Mike Florio ever come back from this? Do you know about Mike Florio? Mike Florio on Pro Football Talk this past week. His exact quote was, all this talk about the Ravens or anything else, I don't care. The 49ers are healthy, and this team, if it's healthy, kicks the shit out of the Ravens, is what he said. They will kick the shit out of every team in the NFL if they're healthy. This week, the Ravens are a good team. They will kick the shit out of the Ravens, is what he said.
Everyone was saying that.
No. Mike Florio specifically used that language which is why my name this week is Mike Flores's Ghost, because walking back through the tunnel, somebody yelled a question about Mike Florio's comments, and he says, Mike Flores, is that his name? And walk by, which I thought was fantastic, because Florio's been around forever. To be like, Mike Flores, is that who Mike Flores? And then Lamar addressed it after the game. He said that he was asked specifically about those comments. And he said, well, look, I thought it was incredibly disrespectful. He's like, look, that's not I don't want to take anything away from that team over there. That's a great team over there. They're great players across up and down. They're a great team. He said, but we're a great team. Our record's not a fluke. We earned our record just like they did. And he said, the best part was, he said, it's just disrespectful. You say something like that about a team. He's like, look, we have all the respect in the world for the guys that we play against. He's like, and they respect us. He's like, but Mike Florio, he's like, he doesn't put on any pads. He doesn't have any respect for anybody playing this game. He's like, he's not putting on the pads. He says, he's like, I don't know. I guess he just wanted a few more viewers to his little show. Fantastic. You really should go and watch the presser, because it is.
I read it. I read the headline about it.
Yeah, no, watch the presser, because in 1 minute, Lamar in his Lamar way, humbly, directly, no nonsense, doesn't really insult anybody directly, but man, he absolutely buries Florio. Just the way that he's like, I guess he wanted a bunch of people to watch his little show. Because only like Lamar's one of those guys who can say that without the smart ass smirk, like he just says it like, because that's just what came to him. Not like, you know what I mean? Like, not that he's like intentionally trying to get a line in, but he's absolutely getting a line in. You know what I mean?
So Bar still has the Ravens number 1, and we are number 1, and
everybody has the Ravens number 1 now. There's no question. Because everybody had the Niners number 1 and us like number 2.
Yep.
So
that exactly felt like right. That game last night felt as much as a scheme game as anything. Because I'm sitting there, I was just thinking about it when the game first started. I'm like, so they got McCaffrey, Kittle, Debo, and Ayuk. Right. Those are their main 4 weapons, right? And it's like, so that means Marlon on Debo, our number 2. Like, it's like there aren't many defenses that have the talent to keep up with those 4 special players, right? And that's but our team, and they probably, if you just man on man, they probably are more talented than us in that area. But our scheme was so good last night. And just defensively, specifically, the way we played defense really just didn't give them a lot of opportunity to do a whole lot. Like their wide receivers did nothing until the last part of that game.
Yeah, until we softened the defense.
Right. Exactly. Like when we started, and I'm like, and people are like, they're only 2 scores down. That was at my brother's watching the game, and I'm like, and there was still like 4.5, 5 minutes left. He's like, yeah, but this is over. I'm like, that's an eternity for this team. I'm like, the Niners can score really, really fast. Like, this is what pisses me off when we go soft. It's like, both like in this paid to play professional football, and my stance is always this, and it's what has always pissed me off a little bit about Harbaugh, right? It's that if the other team has not stopped trying, you shouldn't either. You should continue to keep your foot on the pedal and never slow down. Because if they do, everybody gets out of rhythm. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, what had happened if they had scored that touchdown? And now we're only down by a touchdown to us. We're sitting there going, that's what I like to ask our offense to go back into offense mode. And it's like, no, it's out of routine.
Can't do it. That's what I liked about Belichick. That guy would just smoke a team. It didn't matter if it was 50-0.
Yeah, I used to be on that side where I'm like, it's disrespectful, right? It's unsportsmanlike. And then he came out and made a statement that I'm like, no, he's right. They're being paid to do a job. This is a profession of them, and they're being paid to stop them. He's not being paid to stop. And I'm like, nope. And that's when I did a complete 180 on that whole thing. And anyway, that's my complaint.
That whole thing about taking your foot off the gas. Sometimes taking your foot off the gas means trying to eat the clock. And
understood. If it's
and it doesn't necessarily work. I mean, that you can't, Like
That's the thing.
we didn't
Is
have
it
much
working?
success running the ball outside of Lamar.
Right.
You
We
know,
really did.
Which is why I wouldn't stop, because you're not having that success. If you were having the success, then I have no issue with it. But if you're not having the success, then it's not working, and don't slime.
Who's
Yeah.
going to step up for us? Justice Hill or Gus Edwards?
I mean, I think both of those guys bring something there that it's fine right now. I mean, Gus, hey, look,
Just a
I
double.
don't know a whole lot of guys that from the 2 yard line, you give them the ball, score as consistently as Gus does.
Gus is good. I like Gus.
Does he have like 12 touchdowns on the year or something like that?
I do not know.
I mean,
Something like that. I think if you adjust the play calling to
Ouch.
leading more pass forward offense and intertwining Gus and Justice into the
12.
game like they did last night, I thought that was the right way to do things, because Lamar still ran when there was a need to run, but the game shifted to a passing focused game. I think that's how the Ravens, they can actually make a lot of noise going deep, because I mean, that defense, the Niners are a good defense. They've been a good defense all year.
great
And
defense.
I know they're missing their safety, and that definitely impacts things, but that didn't change the face of last night.
No, it didn't.
No.
And Lamar, I mean, I was thinking about this too last night, is that, I think we all feel pretty comfortable looking at like at OBJ, at Bateman, at Flowers, at Aguilar, and going, those four guys all catch passes when it matters. They all bring different skills and are effective. And none of
really
those
stepped
guys,
up.
none of those guys have stats that make you think like, oh, they're a superstar, which is really remarkable. That they'll, I just kind of feel like the team is just like, no, this is a team thing where,
Sure.
and they've all kind of accepted that. Whereas I think a lot of receivers would be like, no, if I'm not a 1,000-yard receiver, I don't want to be part of this or whatever. I just think it's kind of amazing how, well, they just are all like, they're all having good seasons.
Yeah. And who's really stepped it up is Likely, especially since since the doctor went down. He has stepped up. He had big catches too. He comes up with some big catches. So
Likely's a good receiver. And he's becoming a better blocker. I mean, Cole.
That's why I think it needs to be a pass. That's why I think it needs to be a pass-led offense, though, because without Andrews, we're not running the same. Yeah.
I mean, Andrews was never has become more of a good blocker over the years. I mean, he's taken time to become that. Likely has not really been asked to do that until this season. And like I said, they send Kolar in there when they really want the blocking tight end, and Kolar can catch the ball as well. So you've got a threat in him as well. That's not just for blocking downs. He's Kolar's kind of become Nick Boyle like. You send him in there, you assume they're running the ball when he's in there, and then he catches a few passes to keep you honest.
We're not gonna be able to count on 5 picks the next time we run into them.
No, of course not. But I think the thing about the 5 picks is it's more indicative of a relentless defense.
Yes, no question.
And picks or not, there were times in that game where you were just like, oh, you can just tell they're going to stop the Niners. Like when they stopped them at the goal line, when they stopped McCaffrey at the goal line, I knew that they were going to stop them. Like you could just feel it. You could feel that everybody knows McCaffrey's getting the ball, and McCaffrey scores, 80% of the time when that's the situation. And you could just feel like it wasn't going to happen. McDonald really seems to scheme like he knows, where and when, like, I don't know. He's just very good at sort of figuring out where and when you can give up yards and where and when you can't. And, I mean, honestly, McDonald kind of
was
proven
a
himself to be maybe the best.
blitz. Yeah, I was saying that one of those picks last night was a double corner blitz.
A double corner blitz.
Yeah. Which was like, wait, what? Like he's at both corners. Like when you saw the tip drill happen, right? It was like, that's interesting.
Stevens got 30 inches off the ground to tip that ball.
Oh yeah.
And tipped it right to Marlon.
I think the Niners were surprised that Marlon was in the backfield.
It was crazy
because they were like, wait, what? Because I was like, wait, what is Marlon doing back there? Like, that's when I
Yeah,
realized
no,
it was a double
yeah.
corner blitz.
it was crazy. And hopefully Hamilton is fine. I mean, hopefully that injury's not bad. I didn't look today.
I
Um,
haven't seen the update today either.
But I mean,
Yeah.
when it's so crazy, Hamilton goes out and they're like Geno Stone coming in. I'm like, Geno Stone, who has like, what, 7 picks or something,
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he's not Hamilton. Hamilton can do stuff that no other safety can do. I mean, because Hamilton's a linebacker somehow. Like somehow he's a linebacker and a safety. It's amazing. But
He really is the Swiss Army knife of our defense.
oh man, and would be a huge loss if he's out any length of time. But even still, you're like Geno Stone. I feel pretty good with Geno Stone back there. I mean, I know that they have to scheme different, because they're not going to have Stone rushing the quarterback the way they do Hamilton. They're not going to have him covering tight ends the way they do Hamilton. But they will have him do some of that, just not as much. He's just not that. But and so yeah, I know they're not going to get the same. They're not going to get 5 turnovers like that. But they did. And boy, they sure they shut down all the MVP talk for Purdy in one game.
No doubt.
I mean, he's done. I mean, there's no MVP for Brock Purdy. I don't care what he does the next 2 games. That game that ended it. Like everybody saw that game.
Yep.
And Sam Darnold comes in and throws darts, which is pretty remarkable.
Wow. Darts against a soft defense.
Yeah.
All right.
Like we went soft really pretty
quick
early.
releases too. Yeah, quick releases too.
Yeah.
Well, when you're up 21, I get it too. You're up 21, you go, okay. 6 minutes. It was only, what, 8 minutes left or something when they
I don't like
soft.
it. If they're not quitting, you shouldn't either. That's going to be stance.
One more drive would have been nice. One more stop 'em drive would have been nice.
Sure.
But I mean, time's on your side. And I get that too. Time's on your side, and you want to protect your players as best you can.
I get that as well.
All right, we got to get to the pick'ems.
Yeah. I know you're running out of steam. All right.
Yep.
All right.
Midnight's
Let's look at
my
this week.
deadline.
All
I
I
got to
know,
pull up the lines for us because they're not updated right on Yahoo.
all I know is a very, very Merry Christmas to the Ravens.
Yes, indeed.
And I just want to point out, John Harbaugh, head coach of the best team in football, best record in the National Football League.
Damn right.
Jim Harbaugh, the head coach of the -- 1 team in college football. Mike McDonald is the probably the best D coordinator in the country right now in the NFL right now. Certainly in that talk. You got what's his name, Jesse Minter at Michigan, and Mike McDonald comes out of Michigan, probably the best D coordinator of a top tier school in college football. It's the Harbaugh family is really running an Illuminati style football sort of coup right this minute.
Yeah, we're just using Michigan as our farm system.
I mean, it's a sweet deal we got going on.
Hey, buddy, we're going to take you from being the linebacker coach or whatever he was. We're going to send you to Michigan, learn how to become DC, and then come back up here.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
But
I mean,
That's right.
I loved Wink Martindale because he made it really fun because he had all kinds of crazy blitzes. And McDonald doesn't blitz as much, but man, when he blitzes, they're so good. And I know Martindale had problems. Don't get me wrong. I got it.
I'm not even referring to that. I'm talking about this weekend. He kept talking about this new lineup. There's like a shotgun lineup on defense. And he would line 3 linebackers straight in a row like they're in an I-back situation. And I'm like, okay, that works on offense because then you don't know who's doing what, right? When you're coming out. But how does that help you on defense? You're putting 3 guys stacked in the middle of the field going
so far to run
the entire field. Like
right.
It just didn't make any sense. And it failed horribly every time they tried. It was just like, what? But when you said Wink, I just had to go there. I'm like,
sure. Oh. Like I said, Wink had his problems. I mean, he was a fun D coordinator, no question.
Oh no, he was exciting. I like the way we're playing defense right now. Partly the reason we're doing so well, it's not just having Roquan, but Roquan's a huge piece of that. But it's I was talking to my dad about this last night. I'm like, people do, if you don't watch the Ravens, you look at the stats and you won't realize it. But Clowney has been huge for us
Oh my
this year.
God.
Yeah, he has been.
So, like, he has just wrecked shop, and then you have Van Noy on the other side and Owe, and they're, mixed in with the two of them. Like, it's been a really nice compliment.
Clowney, this might be the best season of his career.
Yeah, and the stats don't really.
The stats aren't going to reflect it, but like it might be the best season, total season he's ever had.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I hope
he's.
we're all hopeful that some of these key free agent additions just come back, like to play with the team.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're going to become expensive,
Yeah,
especially
it's going to be. Yeah.
Like,
yep. Well,
so
you gotta draft replacements. All right. Okay, Mike. I hear you. I see you. I see you. I hear you. All right. First up, Thursday night, we've got a very weird game. We've got a Jets team that God knows I can't figure out this team whatsoever. Trevor Simeon, I don't know, starting, who knows?
yeah,
At Cleveland. Cleveland is a 7-point favorite, which makes a lot of sense given how they're playing. 7.5.
Seven and a half currently. Yeah. I'm going to go Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm taking Cleveland right now.
I don't like that line, but yeah.
It's a terrible
It is
line.
a lot of points. It's a lot of points.
Just to be difficult, I will take the Jets.
Why not?
All right. We get Detroit goes to Dallas. 6-point dogs. Is that right? 6.
That is still correct.
Dallas at home. Detroit in a dome.
I'm going to take Detroit.
That's tough. That's really a tough line. I'm gonna go Detroit purely because of the line. I think it'd be closer than 6.
I'm going to take Detroit because I think David Montgomery is going to pound the ball up the middle and soften that D up. That's what I think. I think they're going to use Montgomery a lot, and Gibbs is going to screw him up. And then Jared Goff, they don't have to rely on him not to make mistakes. All right. New England goes to Buffalo. I don't know what the line is, though.
It's a 12-point line.
Wow,
what is it?
I'm New England.
It's 12.
12. Oh my
Fuck,
God.
this is the play of the week. New England all day.
Yeah, I think New England's defense is too good for that.
Yeah.
Their offense isn't, but their defense is.
God, I hate that I have to agree with you, but yeah, 12 points is a lot of points.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. New England. All right. Atlanta goes to Chicago. Chicago 3-point favorite.
You got it. Still the same. Bears.
I'm going to take Atlanta.
I don't like this game because I can't figure out Atlanta.
I think the Bears defense, we've been talking about it. It's been playing really well.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to shut Atlanta down.
Yeah, I'm kind of on board with you. I'm going to take Chicago. Although I'm not sure Chicago will win, but I think they'll cover.
3 points.
Oh, so I mean, sorry. I'm not sure they're going to win by much, is what I meant, but I think they're going to cover that. They're going to. That feels like a win by a field goal game. Sorry, misspoke. What I meant, yeah. Sorry, I meant I don't think they're going to win by a lot. I think Chicago feels like a team that likes to let another team get back in it. Vegas at Indianapolis. I have no line showing here.
3 points. Colts are favored.
Colts are favored.
As the home team.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Vegas.
I think I'm going to do the same. This is really a coin flip game for me.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to take the Raiders because I think Antonio Pierce has tapped into something there.
I'm actually going to flip to the Colts.
Okay.
Because I think they just shot their wad against Kansas City, and the Colts being at home are fighting for that division and a playoff spot.
Yeah.
I'm flipping over to the Colts.
Yep. Well, I'm going to stick with the Raiders. I think, yeah. I mean, I hear you. It's a tough game.
It's a coin flip game for sure.
Rams at the Giants. I have no line on that one either.
I'm looking for it. Sick. Don't care about you. Don't care about you. There we are. It's Rams by 6.
Oof.
I'm gonna take the Rams.
Same. Rams.
Yeah, I'll take the Rams too.
I don't know how they need to learn to stop some teams, so this is the week to do it.
Yeah. All right. Again, no line on this one. Arizona at Philadelphia.
11 points for the Eagles.
You didn't have to say for the Eagles.
Yeah. I
11 points.
I'm picking Eagles.
Take Cardinals. Purely on the line. I think the Eagles win this game, but like I just looked, they let the Giants climb back into 8 points. Like they just don't seem like they're putting people away.
Did you take Mike?
I'm thinking how many games did have the Eagles covered this year? They've been favored. It had to be in almost all of them, but I don't think they've been covering.
No. That's how I feel about it, but I don't know if that's statistically correct.
I'm gonna take. You said it's 11 points.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with Arizona.
Yeah, it's a big line. That's the only reason for me.
I'm going to take the Eagles. I'll be different.
You do
All right.
you, buddy.
Huh?
You do you, buddy.
Well, we just watched the Bears. Beat them by 11?
Yeah.
You know. New Orleans at Tampa Bay. 3 points. Is that Tampa Bay's favored by 3?
Still 3 points. Yeah. That's Tampa for me.
Mike?
You
were so deep in thought, I couldn't tell if you were frozen.
I am. I'm gonna go with Tampa.
I am also going to take Tampa.
The cake maker keeps it going down there.
I think it's going to be a close game, though. I mean, this just feels like one of these trap games.
Well, I mean, it's a winner probably wins the division game.
That's what I mean. Like it's a playoff game for these two teams for sure.
Yes. And Tampa's at home, so I'm sort of taking Tampa simply because they're home. All right, San Francisco licks their wounds all the way across the country to Washington. They can swing by and see the Ravens and see how they're feeling, and then go to Washington.
It is 13 and a half.
13 and a half. Oh my
God. I'm still going to take the 49ers here.
13 and a half.
The Redskins or Commanders or whoever they are not the Ravens.
I'm going with the Washington football team.
The question is,
Purdy going to play?
No, Purdy's going to play. I was wondering if Brissett was going to start.
Let me see here.
I'm going to take San Francisco. Would you say it's 13 points?
13 and a half, yeah.
13 and a half. I'm going to take San Francisco. I might revise that if Brissett gets the start. I mean, San Francisco is still going to win, but cross country and Brissett, I think, gives Washington a chance to be respectable in that game.
I don't disagree with you on that.
All right. I have no line on this one. Carolina at Jacksonville, this might be the hardest game to figure out because Jacksonville is just the wheels have come off.
What's the spread here?
7 points, Jags.
7
points. Wow.
with the Jags. 7 with the Jags.
I'll take the Jags.
7 points. I'm gonna go Carolina.
I mean, this is a must-win game for Jacksonville.
Yeah.
That stuff doesn't
That's
matter.
the only reason I'm taking it. The only reason. They got to fix some stuff or else they're going to be in real trouble.
Man, I hate this game. I really, really do. I think I'm going to take the Jags, but oof.
I could see being a push, to be honest. Like
I mean, this feels like the kind of game that that you put $50 on Carolina, and you take no points. You just put $50 on, put $50 on the money line because Jacksonville is so erratic right now.
Just really throw out every man's betting strategy on purpose.
Well, I mean, kind of, yeah. You put $50
because
on
you
the
just
money
had
line.
to put 50 on Carolina with the points and then 50 on the money line for the Jags, which is by definition Mike's strategy. So.
No, this feels like the kind of game that you just go, I'm going to put some money on Carolina because Jacksonville has and they're 3-5 at home. They're 3-5 at home, and Lawrence is hurt. They are reeling. They cannot figure things out. Carolina's coming off the most promising performance they've had, so they're coming in. I mean, I know they've got 2 wins, but this was the most promising game they've had. Huh?
Do you know if Lawrence is going to play this week?
They signed Matt Barkley.
Who did? Carolina?
No,
Jacksonville.
But I don't know if he'll be able to play. So I'm assuming that.
No, he won't.
I mean, unless
I can't imagine.
Yeah, but they. I don't know.
Sprained shoulder.
That might
sprained
get me to
ACL.
switch. Who's their backup?
Excuse me.
I don't know.
Is it Beathard?
Yes. Status is unclear.
That one's this may be when I decide to flip it around, but I'm going to keep it with Jags for now.
Yeah, I'm going to go Carolina, and I might decide to switch it around depending on the week goes. I think I'm gonna. Yeah, I think that line might change though if Lawrence is out. I think that'll push a lot of that'll put a lot of bets to Carolina. I'm going to pick Carolina for the first time all season. Maybe I've picked them to cover. I don't know. All right. Miami at Baltimore. I have no idea what the line is, though.
3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
Got a real chance for a letdown on this one.
No doubt.
Taking the boys.
Yeah, I'm taking the Ravens.
I'm taking Baltimore. I just don't know if it's 3.5, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm taking Miami.
If we win this game, we've locked up home field.
Home field? Yep. We have if we win this game, we get to rest everybody against Pittsburgh. And not worry about it.
And that's the biggest thing for me, absolutely. Not having people get hurt against Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That's huge.
When I'm gonna just say when Lamar's presser after the game, he said they were asking about like MVP talk and all that stuff, and I mean I love him. He's so humble. He's such a great guy.
We know he's very humble,
and he's like yeah, sure, it's he's like, yeah, I got one, and it's an honor to be in the conversation this late in the season, but we got Miami coming to town, and we've got to focus on that. That's a great team, and we've got to get right back to work. And he's like, we've got to get ready for a great team coming to town. He's like, and we have other things we're trying to accomplish. We got to figure out how we can be playing football in February, and that's what we're going to go back to work on. And the MVP stuff's nice, but I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the kind of stuff that said a certain way sounds like an asshole, but he doesn't say it that way. he says it like, you know what I mean? He says it like a very sincere guy who's not, you know what I mean? Who's like, seems focused.
Yep.
That whole team seems focused on the right stuff.
They do right now, that's for sure. Just keep it up.
Yeah. So I'm going to take Baltimore. I do worry about the 2 weeks of rest though. That's burned us in the past.
I don't like that either.
So, I mean, I still want to get the win. Don't get me wrong, but hopefully Harbaugh makes some practice. And then,
Yes.
yeah. All right.
Tennessee.
Tennessee at Houston is, we don't know if Stroud's back yet, do we?
I don't think so. It's 3.5 points right now.
For Houston?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a concussion. How many weeks is he going to be out?
Second week now. They could be being careful with him.
Well, yeah, but
let's see.
Could return, could return. None of that's helpful. All right, 3.5 points. I'm going to take Houston. I'll jump in first.
Oh, I'm taking Houston. Yeah. I mean, I might waver on that later in the week once we hear more about Stroud, but right now I'm under the impression he'll be there.
Will Levis is out. Is that right?
Yeah, I think Tannehill's playing.
Tanny Tits is going to be playing. I'm going to take Tennessee.
Tanny Tit. That's what we're calling him now.
That's who we call him in my fantasy football league. Tanny Tits.
Tanny Tits. That makes sense.
And then every time we have him on our team, every time we score, we'd be like, "Show me them tits, baby! Show me them tits, Tanny Tits." It was just a thing we did. It was pretty cool.
I'm surprised you don't call him Ryan Wags.
Wags from Billions?
You seem like a Wags guy.
I like Wags. He's cool.
No, Wives and Girlfriends.
I never watched that.
Wags is cool, Mike. I agree. He's also great as Gale.
It's not a show. I just figured Tannehill's wife would be up your alley.
Oh, she's hot. She's smoking hot. She is a smoke show. I've seen her.
I just figured she'd be up your alley.
I have seen her.
Yeah, that's why I thought you'd call it Ryan Wags makes the most sense.
Blue chip. She's blue chip.
Pittsburgh at Seattle. What's the spread there?
3.5.
Seattle?
Yep. Sea chickens for me.
I'm taking Seattle.
Yeah, I like Seattle too. It's going to be ugly. 3.5. They'll probably win by 3, but that's all right.
Yeah.
But Seattle's a tough place to play. All right, the Chargers at Denver. What's the line?
5 for the Broncos.
Oh, no question. I'm going Easton stick in the Chargers.
Are you really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I am too. I'm going Chargers too.
I don't like that line. Denver might win that game, but 5 points is too much.
Yep. I think Denver wins, but I think the Chargers are so happy to be out from under the yoke of Brandon Staley that they are going to be competitive the rest of the year. And I think the Broncos are paper tigers.
I agree with that.
And what's the story with Cortland Sutton? Is he hold on, let me double check this.
I think he's done.
That's what I thought. Concussion protocol. Oh, he's concussion protocol.
I think it's somebody else.
No, yeah, concussion protocol. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. All right. Cincy at Kansas City.
7 points.
Browning versus Mahomes, 7 points. Wow.
Wow.
Hard to imagine Kansas City getting that kind of respect after the beatdown at the hands of Las Vegas, except Cincinnati got demolished by Pittsburgh. So if Cincinnati had played remotely like they have been, that line would be like 2.
I gotta take Cincy on this. I just have to. Some big spreads coming out here, man. Take those points all day.
Would you say it was 7.5?
7.
7.
I want to see if Chase is out this week.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he's out, then I'll take KC. If he plays, I'll probably flip that.
I am 100% on board, actually.
I'm going to go KC for now because I don't. Right now, he's a question mark from what it seems like.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going Cincy. 77% of public going KC.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
going
that's because
Cincy
everybody
all
likes
day.
the Chiefs, but I'm with you. I will take Cincy if Jamar Chase plays. Green Bay
Yeah.
at Minnesota. What's the line on that one?
1.5.
Oof. My ride or die, baby. Minnesota.
I'm on board. I'm taking the Vikings.
I'm going to take the
I
Vikings
love
as
it.
well. I'm taking the Vikings as well. No Monday Night Football this week, huh? All right.
Ooh.
No, New Year's is college football.
Oh, right. And we got the Saturday game. We get the Monday Night Football on Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, if any of these picks turn out, we'll come back and talk about them next week.
And if they don't, we'll be back to talk about it next week anyway.
And if they don't, Mike will come back and lie about how he had them right, but then he switched it at the last minute. And
I can never lie because it's all documented, so there's no lying.
And how isn't that sad? Isn't that
All
sad?
documented.
Yeah, there is a difference though, where you see the two of us say things like, "Well, I might end up switching this pick." One of us is like, "Oh,
So-
yeah, I just switched it."
So what? You need a heads up so you can try to follow my plan? Is that your idea? You have to.
No,
it gives you the key to look into it.
That's the only way we know how honest you are, Mike.
Right.
Maybe you.
Well,
see,
we know how honest you are from the fact that you tell us you change things up at the last minute all the time. So,
But
we
it's
already know.
funny
I didn't
how
say.
the changes never really work out. He never tells us about the ones that do.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Right. That's why I should never second guess myself.
So, are we going to do a little Thursday league this week? The Browns and Jets. I mean,
let's do it.
there's certainly some talented players on both teams worth picking or playing around with.
Sure.
It's kind of a crap game maybe, but it could be interesting.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'll get it set up now.
Yep.
Hey,
Send it over.
Augie the Greek, sit down.
No way. I'm going to bed.
I know you are. All right. Well, gentlemen, I'll see you next week. Until then, thanks for watching USVN.
Ciao.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.